Marty Feldman is a name that echoes through the annals of comedy history, a figure whose striking appearance and razor-sharp wit made him unforgettable. Born with a face that could stop traffic, Feldman didn't just embrace his uniqueness, he turned it into an art form that entertained millions. His bulging eyes and twisted smile became trademarks of a comedic genius whose life was as colorful and dramatic as the characters he played. Yet, behind the scenes, Marty Feldman's story is one of contrasts, of laughter and sorrow, of triumph and despair. This is the story of a man who made the world laugh, but who carried the heavy burden of his personal struggles, leading to a sad and untimely end. Martin Allen Feldman was born on July 8, 1934, in the poverty-stricken East End of London, a gritty area that would shape his outlook on life. The son of Jewish immigrants from Ukraine, Feldman grew up in a world where survival was a daily battle. His father, who worked as a gown maker, and his mother, who was a homemaker, instilled in him a sense of resilience and determination. These were traits that would later define his career and personal life. From an early age, Feldman was different. At 6, he developed Graves' disease, a thyroid condition that caused his eyes to bulge prominently, giving him the distinctive appearance that would later become his trademark. While this condition might have led others to retreat into the shadows, Feldman instead embraced his differences. The world would see his eyes as a source of endless humor, but for Feldman, they were a reminder of the struggles that came with standing out in a world that often rewards conformity. Feldman's childhood was also marked by a love for the arts, particularly jazz. He dreamed of becoming a jazz trumpeter and, in his early teens, played in a band. However, a chance encounter with comedy changed the trajectory of his life forever. Realizing that his true gift was making people laugh, Feldman shifted his focus from music to comedy, a decision that would lead him on an incredible journey through the world of entertainment. Before he became a household name as an actor, Marty Feldman made his mark as a comedy writer. The 1950s and 60s were a time of great change in British television, and Feldman was at the forefront of this revolution. His work behind the scenes helped shape the landscape of modern comedy, though his contributions were not always immediately recognized. Feldman's writing was characterized by its sharp wit, surreal humor, and an uncanny ability to find comedy in the mundane. He began his writing career by contributing to BBC radio programs, where he quickly gained a reputation for his clever, offbeat sketches. His work on Educating Archie, a popular radio show, helped him refine his comedic voice and build connections with other rising stars in the industry. In the early 1960s, Feldman's career took a significant leap when he started writing for television. He became part of a writing team that included future comedy legends like Barry Took and Dennis Norton. Together, they crafted some of the most memorable sketches of the era, working on shows such as The Army Game and Bootsy and Snudge. Feldman's ability to create humor that was both intelligent and absurd made him a sought-after writer in the industry. However, it was his work on The Frost Report, 1966, a satirical television show hosted by David Frost, that brought him wider recognition. The show featured a mix of sketches, monologues, and musical numbers, and Feldman's contributions were often the highlight. Working alongside John Cleese, Graham Chapman, and Tim Brooke-Taylor, Feldman helped create a program that would influence an entire generation of British comedians. The success of The Frost Report paved the way for Feldman to transition from behind-the-scenes writer to on-screen performer. Marty Feldman's transition from writer to performer was not just a career move, it was a leap into the unknown. His unique appearance and physical comedy skills made him a natural on screen, but it was his work on At Last the 1948 show, 1967, that truly launched his career as a performer. The show was a sketch comedy series that combined the surreal humor of Monty Python with Feldman's own brand of absurdity. At Last the 1948 show was groundbreaking in many ways. It was one of the first British television programs to embrace a style of humor that was both intellectual and silly, a combination that would later become a hallmark of British comedy. Feldman was not just a performer on the show, he was also one of its main writers, contributing to some of its most iconic sketches. One of the most famous sketches from At Last the 1948 show was the Four Yorkshiremen sketch, which humorously exaggerated the hardships of working-class life. The sketch was a perfect showcase for Feldman's talent, as he played one of the Yorkshiremen who humorously one-upped each other with tales of woe. The sketch has since become a classic, often performed by comedy troupes around the world. Feldman's performance on At Last the 1948 show made him a star in the UK, But his ambitions were far greater. He was ready to take on the world stage, and Hollywood was calling. Marty Feldman's move to Hollywood was a bold step, but it was one that would pay off in ways even he could not have imagined. In 1974, Feldman was cast in what would become his most iconic role, Igor in Mel Brooks's Young Frankenstein. The film, a loving parody of the classic horror genre, remains one of the greatest comedies of all time, and Feldman's performance as the hunchbacked, bug-eyed assistant to Gene Wilder's Dr. Frankenstein was nothing short of legendary. Igor was a character that seemed tailor-made for Feldman's talents. His physical comedy, impeccable timing, and ability to convey humor through his expressions made Igor one of the most memorable characters in the film. Feldman's improvisational skills also added a layer of brilliance to the role. The Walk This Way gag, where Igor leads Dr. Frankenstein down a flight of stairs in an exaggerated limp, is one of the film's most famous scenes and was entirely improvised by Feldman. Young Frankenstein was a massive success, both critically and commercially, and it catapulted Feldman to international fame. He became a household name, recognized not just for his unique appearance but for his undeniable comedic talent. Hollywood had found a new star, and Feldman's future seemed brighter than ever. Following the success of Young Frankenstein, Feldman continued to work with Mel Brooks, appearing in Silent Movie, 1976, and The Adventure of Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother, 1975. He also took on leading roles in films like the last remake of Beau Geste, 1977, which he co-wrote and directed. Despite his growing success, Feldman's career was not without its challenges. While Marty Feldman's public persona was that of a man who could find humor in anything, his private life was far more complex. The very features that made him famous, his bulging eyes and distinctive appearance, were also the source of deep-seated insecurities. Feldman often felt like an outsider, even in the world of comedy, and this sense of isolation was exacerbated by his health issues. Graves' disease, which had caused Feldman's eyes to bulge, also brought with it a host of other health problems. Feldman suffered from chronic pain, and his condition made it difficult for him to maintain the demanding schedule of a Hollywood star. His health was further compromised by his lifestyle choices. Feldman was a heavy smoker, often going through several packs of cigarettes a day. He was also a vegetarian, a rarity in Hollywood at the time, but his diet was far from healthy. Feldman's eating habits were erratic, and he relied heavily on coffee to get through his days. These factors took a toll on Feldman's physical and mental health. His insecurities about his appearance led him to avoid social situations, and he often retreated into himself when not working. Despite being surrounded by adoring fans and colleagues, Feldman struggled with loneliness and self-doubt. His marriage to Loretta Sullivan, a former ballet dancer, was one of the few constants in his life. The couple had met in the 1950s and married in 1959. Sullivan was a source of strength and stability for Feldman, but their relationship was not without its challenges. The pressures of fame, combined with Feldman's health issues, put a strain on their marriage. Yet, through it all, Sullivan remained by his side, supporting him through the highs and lows of his career. In 1982, Marty Feldman traveled to Mexico to film Yellowbeard, a pirate comedy co-written by Graham Chapman of Monty Python fame. The film was intended to be a light-hearted romp, but the production was plagued with difficulties from the start. The harsh conditions on set, combined with Feldman's already fragile health, created a perfect storm of stress and exhaustion. On December 2, 1982, Marty Feldman was found dead in his hotel room in Mexico City. He was just 48 years old. The official cause of death was a heart attack, likely triggered by food poisoning and the strain of the demanding shoot. Feldman's death was sudden and unexpected, shocking his fans and colleagues. The news of Feldman's passing sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. Tributes poured in from around the globe, as fellow comedians and actors mourned the loss of a true original. Mel Brooks, who had worked closely with Feldman on several films, described him as one of the most brilliant minds in comedy, while John Cleese called him a unique talent who could make the ordinary extraordinary. Feldman's death marked the end of a career that had brought joy and laughter to millions, but it also left a void in the world of comedy that has never been filled. Despite his relatively short life, Marty Feldman's influence on comedy was profound, and his legacy continues to be celebrated by those who were inspired